This one's for you, Pop.
It's time to break down episodes 4 through 6 of This Is Us Season 4 and find out just what happened. What's going on, you lovely people? Lisa here, and first I just gotta say thank you for being so patient with me with these This Is Us recaps. I know I'm freaking behind, and I said I would get caught up, and I'm just now doing it, but I saw your comments and even some emails that I got, and I just wanted to say thank you for even watching these in the first place, because I had no idea people really liked them that much. I appreciate everything, and just in case you don't want to miss any of my recaps in the future, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to get better at this, I promise, and I'll always have some videos and interviews going up. But this video, I'm going to briefly try to cover episodes 4 and 5, not ramble about them as much as I usually do, and then I'll take a little bit longer with the most recent episode, episode 6. First up, let's talk about episode 4. So in this episode, we get to see Rebecca and Beth's mom, Carol, meet for the first time on a parents' visit weekend in the flashback. Now, Carol comes out of the encounter thinking Randall is not good enough for Beth and that he and Rebecca are weak for the way that they've handled losing Jack, which is kind of absurd because it's like everyone handles situations like that differently. Like, not everybody can be stoic and move on as quickly as Beth and Carol seem to have. But this situation kind of ended up running Beth into Randall's arms as she realizes he actually sees her. I guess it works out, but basically, you know that Randall ends up dealing with Carol not approving of him, or so he thinks all the time. Now, Rebecca comes out of the same encounter admiring Carol and Beth for how strong they are and how they were able to move on past the loss of Carol's husband. So Rebecca decides that it's time to finally move on, and she and Kate move into a new house. Now, in this flashback, we also have Kate getting a new start and getting a job at a record store and flirting with the guy that works there. And Kevin also calls from New York and drops a pretty big bomb that he and Sophie got married. So we learn they got married as basically 18-year-olds. Now, in the present, Kevin, Nikki, and Cassidy end up hanging out when the website for an AA meeting has the wrong time, and all three of them really need a meeting. Cassidy needs one because her husband wants to proceed with the divorce, and she's pretty upset. So to kill time, they go looking for new trailers for Nikki, who actually doesn't want one. Now, he actually ends up sharing something about himself, which he doesn't too often. He shares the story of his trailer and how he originally bought it for a girl named Sally, who he loved, but obviously that kind of didn't work out. We then have Kevin telling Cassidy he's going to help her win her husband back, and Kevin buys a trailer and parks it next to Nikki's, and he's planning to stay there for a bit. Now, as far as Kate and Toby go, they try taking baby Jack to a music class, but it doesn't go so well. It's just kind of too much stimulus for him at once. And Kate and Toby continue to kind of argue about everything, and Kate eventually does apologize and says she just wants Jack to do everything other kids will, and Toby says, you know what, he will, it's just gonna take one step at a time. So then she's like, let's go to the beach, and they end up taking baby Jack to the beach and have a pretty good time. For Randall in the present, he's dreading Carol coming to town for the opening of Beth's dance studio because they've, like I said, never gotten along. Now, of course, everything with the studio opening happened and goes wrong when there ends up being a dead possum in the walls. Carol, of course, tries to be the alpha and take charge and tells them that they have to reschedule, but Randall stands up to Carol and says they're not rescheduling. Everything actually ends up going well, and Carol tells Randall it was nice of him to put this together, and Randall ends up apologizing for his tone, the way he was speaking to her. He then brings up how Carol never liked him, and she surprises him saying she actually always liked him, but just didn't think he was right for Beth because she thought he was weak. But now she sees she was wrong, and she sees the strong part of him and the man and father he's become. So Randall kind of smiles like he's won, like he actually beat Carol. But just how we saw Carol was quick to judge Randall, we see Randall very quick to judge Deja's friend and love interest, Malik. Now, Randall and Beth want to meet Malik before Deja can go to the movies with him, so Malik comes by the dance opening, and when he starts to gush about his daughter, Randall is caught off guard, and well, Malik ends up having to say, yeah, I got a daughter, and he thought that Deja had told them. She didn't, and things get awkward, so we're gonna have to kind of wait to see how that plays out. Okay, so I think I kind of got the big things in that episode, so let's move on to episode 5. So in this one, we kind of see in the timelines that when a thing you want, you're really trying to go right, ends up going wrong, sometimes it can still end up being perfect in its own way. At least that's kind of what I thought. So in the flashback here, we see Jack and pregnant Rebecca moving into their first house, and she's pretty determined to make the best dinner ever for that first night, but everything goes wrong, like a missing table leg, the dinner burning, a bird flying in. It's a mess, but they end up ordering pizza, laughing about it, and becomes a perfect night. Now in our flashback where the big three are teens, we have Sophie and Kevin coming home for dinner as newlyweds, and Rebecca wants to make this perfect, but as expected, it's awkward AF. Now Miguel also comes over, which Kate isn't too happy about, and we have Randall bringing Beth over to meet the rest of the family as well. Now as Sophie and Kevin tell the story of why they got married when they did, the doorbell rings and Mark, Kate's boyfriend from the record store, shows up. Now Kate introduces him to the family as a friend from work, but Mark says he's her boyfriend. Dinner continues to just get more awkward, and the big three go into the kitchen and then they let their real feelings out. Kevin thinks Mark's too old for Kate because he's 23. Kevin likes Beth and Kate says Beth is perfect, but kind of sarcastically. Then Kate is mad at Kevin for getting married without telling her, and well, it just becomes a lot of yelling that Rebecca ends up hearing. Now this is the last straw for her, and she says they are going to sit down, have a nice freaking dinner, it's gonna be perfect, and they're gonna move forward. She then calms down a little bit and tells everyone the story of the dinner from the older flashback we saw, and tensions seem to lower. She recognizes that this dinner she's made is horrible, and they order pizza. Now Rebecca then gives a wedding gift to Kevin and Sophie in the form of a song from The Princess Bride that she sings and plays at the piano while the kids take Polaroids of everything. Now as for our present, Kate is waiting all episode for her baby gift from Randall and Kevin. It finally shows up and ends up being the family piano that we saw Rebecca sing that song on earlier, and inside the seat are all those Polaroids from that night in the flashback. Now Rebecca's also over and they're looking at these pictures together, her and Kate, and they kind of tense up when they see one of Mark and Kate.
I wanted to believe so badly that you kids were happy. I didn't see what was happening.
I didn't see it either.
Yeah, so what did this Mark kid do to Kate? It doesn't seem like it's a good thing. Like, is it just a case of normal, like, first love, first broken heart? Did he abuse her in some sort? Like, it's another little mystery we have that we're gonna have to wait to see unravel. But for now, let's move on to Tess and Randall. So for them, stress is really getting to them and their anxiety is hitting an all-time high. Now Randall keeps having to cancel on Councilman Wilkins, this time because he gets a call from Tess's school that she's had her first panic attack. Now she of course doesn't want to talk about any of this with Randall or Beth, and she definitely doesn't want to hear Randall say she's like him because she doesn't want to be anything like him. Now Randall, he's also been exercising more than normal, and Beth notices that as well as his restless leg is pretty much a tell for his anxiety that she learned pretty quickly. We see that in the flashback. Now Randall, he's currently upset because he thinks that he passed the worst part of him, his anxiety and panic attacks, on to Tess, and he's not too happy about it. We then see a flashback that takes place after Randall had that big panic attack and breakdown, that Beth came home and found out that William also struggled with anxiety, and one of his fears was passing that down to his kids. Beth then goes and gets Tess and Randall and sits them down and explains that William also had anxiety, and you know what, this thing that they don't like has made three of her favorite people. It's something they have in common: William, Tess, and Randall. And then Beth continues to tell Randall and Tess about William, and then assures Tess that they'll get this thing under control. Beth then passes on William's trick for dealing with it, pouring a glass of seltzer and watching the bubbles fade. So Tess tries this and then opens up about what's been bugging her, which is about having to come out in school and pretending that she was straight. Beth then tells Randall she's found a therapist for Tess and suggests that maybe Randall go see one too, but Randall's still not ready to admit anything is wrong, and he says he's fine and doesn't want to hear about it. As for Kevin and Nikki and Cassidy, Kevin tries to get Nikki to tell him stories about Jack, but that doesn't really work, so Kevin ends up telling a story to Nikki about Jack and some ice cream. Then they all go to a hockey game where Cassidy is being honored, and it just seems to be too much for Nikki that he ends up leaving. Kevin's also mad that Cassidy's husband Ryan comes and is on his phone the whole time. And then when Kevin drops Cassidy and Maddie off at Ryan's house, Kevin confronts Ryan about this whole thing, and well, Ryan explains how he and Cassidy met and how the ceremony at the game honored the thing that broke his favorite person, and he didn't want to weep in front of his kid. Ryan then tells Kevin to stay away from his wife, which actually makes Kevin smile as he reports back to Cassidy that Ryan still likes her because he's jealous or threatened by Kevin. Kevin then returns to Nikki's trailer, understanding kind of thanks to Ryan why it was hard for Nikki to be at that hockey game. Now Nikki has actually stayed sober, which is a good sign. He didn't run off to a bar, and he's also come around as he starts to open up to Kevin and tells a story about Jack. Jack wasn't the first person to do the thing with the ice cream that Kevin remembered from childhood. It was actually Nikki's dad that did that for them, and they share this kind of sweet moment. And I think I kind of got to the end of that episode pretty quickly. I don't really know. I think those were all the big moments. So let's go to episode 6. This most recent episode that has a lot of golf in it. Alright, so in our flashback, we finally get to see more of Jack with Rebecca's dad. Now, Jack drops Rebecca off at home one day, and then her dad happens to be outside and invites Jack to come play golf, but he turns it down knowing it would be the most awkward time ever, since he knows that this dad doesn't approve of him, but Rebecca doesn't know that, so she kind of does some nudging, being like, maybe this could be good. So Jack ends up changing his mind and goes to the country club, but of course he doesn't have the right clothes, so Rebecca's dad has to buy him those, and so Jack's trying to get out of it again, till some of Rebecca's dad's friends are like, come play golf with us. So Jack basically has to suck it up and go play golf, and he sticks out like a sore thumb. He does not fit in with these guys. He keeps hitting the ball into the water hazards, and things just keep going wrong. This ends up driving Jack to drink a little too much, and he gets drunk, and when they return to the house, he and Rebecca's dad pretty much almost get in a fist fight. Rebecca happens to come out just in time before Jack can throw any punches at Rebecca's dad, and she drives Jack home. Then we flash forward a little bit and see a young Randall who is excited to go to school early because he's really taken to his new teacher, Mr. Lawrence. They've got this kind of bond, and Jack really wants to meet this famous Mr. Lawrence he keeps hearing about. Jack then seems to get a little jealous of Randall and Mr. Lawrence's bond, and when he sees that Randall is really into watching Tiger Woods play golf, Jack suggests that they go play golf. You know, maybe it'll be a bonding thing for them, something that they can have between them. Now, as Jack and Randall are playing, Randall keeps talking about Tiger Woods and all the things Mr. Lawrence has said, and Mr. Lawrence this, Mr. Lawrence that. And
Mr. Lawrence says I'm breaking barriers in Haynes Academy too, because they never had a black kid on the debate team. Yeah, I'm not saying it'll be as hard for me as it was for Jackie Robinson and Muhammad Ali, but it'll still be hard for me.
Now, Jack tries to relate, saying how he didn't fit in country clubs back in the day because of his family and all of these things, that it ended up stopping him from playing golf. But Randall just kind of looks at him and is like, that's not the same thing, and things just continue to get awkward as Randall gives Jack the silent treatment, then says he doesn't want to play golf anymore. Jack tells Randall, you know, they don't quit, they're not quitters, but then Randall brings up, you know, why did you let me quit the dojo that we went to with all the other black families, but then you wouldn't let me quit sports like baseball and soccer and all of that, and Jack still doesn't seem to be getting it, and Randall just says Jack doesn't get it and how those situations don't compare. And Jack, he apologizes, explaining that he doesn't see color when he looks at Randall, he just sees his son, but Randall then says that means Jack doesn't actually see him. And that's where I kind of got to stop talking about this flashback for now, because it relates to our present storyline as well. Now, in our present, Kate and Toby are having some issues as he wants to, you know, have some sex, and she's not so into it. He's then stressed and starts packing up his old clothes to donate all the clothes he doesn't fit in anymore, and he gets upset when Kate tells him to not get rid of his favorite pair of pants, because he's like, well, why not? Because I don't fit in these anymore. They then decide they really need some alone time and get Rebecca and Miguel to come babysit while they go to a hotel to hopefully get the romance going. But unfortunately, Toby just can't get it up, and they just end up sitting in bed awkwardly watching Turner Classic Movies. Kate finally asks if maybe Toby's not attracted to her anymore, and he says he is, he's just got a lot on his mind. And then he ultimately reveals that it was kind of the pants thing that set him off, and then the pressure of, you know, performing, and if he didn't perform, that she'd think he wasn't attracted to her anymore, and there was a lot of stuff building up for Toby. Yeah, they end up returning home, and of course, we see Kate apologize again. This is like the 50 millionth time she's had to apologize after one of these fights, and she tries to make it right by cutting up the pair of pants, and then she says she believes in Toby and that he shouldn't be worried. Toby then reassures her that he's definitely attracted to her, and they decide to try to have a quickie before Miguel and Rebecca return home. But I'm still very worried about these two. We see that they're not together as far as what we've seen in the flash forwards, and the way that they keep fighting over everything, it makes that outlook look pretty grim, like they're either divorced or maybe Kate's died. I don't know which one it is. Now, as for Kevin in this present storyline, he's still not fully over Zoe as he stalks her on Instagram and wonders if she's got a hot new man that's in all these pictures with her, and leave it to Uncle Nicky to out Kevin for stalking as he accidentally likes one of Zoe's pictures, and I feel like that's relatable for a lot of people. Then at the gym where Cassidy and Kevin are working out, the smoothie girl gives Kevin her number, but he says, you know, AA discourages them from dating in the first year, and then he starts rambling to Cassidy again about Zoe and how they broke up because of differing opinions on kids. And then Cassidy encourages Kevin to maybe get back on the saddle. And well, Kevin ends up going out with Smoothie Girl, and at first it's the most awkward date, and then finally things start to get better, so much so that they're gonna go hook up in Kevin's trailer. But when they get there, they're cock-blocked by Cassidy, who happens to be sitting there waiting to talk to Kevin. So Smoothie Girl is out, and Cassidy's there telling Kevin how she went and saw Ryan, and it ended up being a mistake because they got in a huge fight where she lost her temper. Kevin then comforts her and tells her that she is not unlovable, she's just been through a lot and she's human. Now this bit of compassion here ends up leading Cassidy to kiss Kevin, and then she realizes, oh wait, this was a mistake, and tries to leave. But then we see Kevin pull her back in, and they have a nice little hookup, and it's kind of like, well, this just fuels the theories that Cassidy is the baby mama. But could that just actually be to throw us off because it's too obvious? Do you guys have some thoughts on that? Now on to Randall. So he's still trying to win over Councilman Wilkins to get him on his side for one of his initiatives about groceries and all of that, but you know, things just aren't working out between them. Randall ends up seeing the councilman and a few other men talking about golf, and you know, to make up for canceling on Wilkins so many times, Randall offers to get these guys, you know, a chance to play at this country club. Well, Councilman Wilkins throws a wrench in the plan. It's like, well, can you get us on the day? So Randall ends up going golfing with these guys, and well, it's pretty bad. It's like how we saw Jack golfing with Rebecca's dad. Randall is not very good at all, and you know, the guys just keep making fun of him. It is super awkward, but then there's a turning point where we see Wilkins start to give Randall tips, that fatherly advice, and it seems to help Randall get better. It helps, and well, Randall ends up thanking Councilman Wilkins, and by the end of the game, Councilman Wilkins' attitude towards Randall has changed, and he says, you know, let's talk about this whole grocery store initiative. So it was kind of like a thing where it all ended up working out, but you know, was it part of a master plan? Because I thought Randall probably knew how to play all along, and I actually ended up kind of being right, as we see that Randall was actually hustling Councilman Wilkins. Now, how do we know this? Because then we go to the end of that other flashback, as we see Randall in the present go back out to the golf course and hit a bunch of balls like a pro and hit one in the water in honor of Jack. Now, in that flashback that we had, we see Jack apologize to little Randall and says that he'll try to get better and to listen. But he's not going to let Randall give up on golf because he knows Randall's going to be an important man. And golf is kind of that game where a lot of important things happen while you're playing it, helps maintain certain relationships. And Jack was smart enough to know this, so he knew that, you know, Randall would need to know how to work the golf course and how to sometimes play this game, whether you got to play up to the competition or play down. And that's what we see Randall do in the present, play down to the competition in order to play the game and make it work. And we see Jack start to teach Randall golf, and that teen Randall continues to play golf. So we also see Jack invite Mr. Lawrence over for dinner as he tries to make more of an effort to understand Randall. And this whole thing was kind of that beautiful father-son storyline, and just seeing Randall, you know, hit that ball into the water for Jack. I love it. But basically what we saw was, you know, Randall use that game of golf to make Wilkins feel superior to him in order to think that, you know, okay, I'll work with you, I can manage you in the future, kind of a thing. But Randall's really winning here. Yeah, but I think that's it. There might have been some other things that I missed, and I apologize if I did. I also apologize if my rambling made no sense and my words tripped over each other because I'm filming this so late or early in the morning. It'll come to you at a regular time, but right now my brain is a little fried. So let's just go ahead and look at the promo for the next episode.
What if we skip school? I could show you my Philly.
It's beautiful. The way you look at me. I never thought anybody could look at me like that.
I think it's time to get to know Malik's parents better. See if they're good people.
Our son is always gonna choose you. Always.
Ah, young love. I have a feeling this whole thing's gonna get awkward because while Malik may be a good-hearted kid, you know, if Randall and Beth found out that he was having Deja skip school, it'll not go over well. That, plus being a teen father, not things that Randall and Beth would probably sign off on. We also have Randall and Beth meeting Malik's parents, which could go well and also could go awkwardly. We'll have to wait and see. The storyline also continues with Jack and Mr. Lawrence, as Mr. Lawrence takes Jack up on the offer to come over to dinner, and it seems like Jack may be feeling a little jealous or left out because of Randall and Mr. Lawrence's connection on a level that he'll never really be able to understand or get to. But yeah, lots of stuff is happening, and now it's time to hear your thoughts on all these latest episodes. What do you think of this Kevin and Cassidy storyline? What about Kate and Toby and their future? And what do you want to see for Randall and Beth next? Let me know all your thoughts and theories about these past 3 episodes, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Check out more of my videos right over here. Thanks for being patient with me. Thanks for sticking with me through this. I'm Lisa, and as always, thanks for listening to me ramble. I don't even know what I'm saying. I'll see you next time.